Hello. Make sure it's working here. All right. I think we're good. Okay. It is cold in here today. So another couple Leica R lenses. Let's see. Okay. So we're doing a 60 macro today. This one's in okay condition. The mount looks very nice and clean. The anodizing's got a lot of little imperfections. Nothing crazy, but this is clearly used. This is all original paint, which is nice to see. It's a little faded, but I would expect that from a 40-year-old, 30-year-old lens. Actually, let's check this. I don't know if Phil's here yet to tell me when this lens was produced. 60 macro. 374. Okay, this is relatively new. This is 97 to 2000, so not that old. In fact, while we're here, let's see, 7 elements, 6 groups. This should be a 55mm thread. It is indeed. Focus ring material, metal. Great. And this focus ring should be 2.587. Close. 2.574. It's very close. Okay. Oh, and let's grab a weight real quick before we slap mods on it. My weight here is 395 grams. 397. Close enough. You know what? Oh no, that would be the opposite. If the caps were on it, that'd be more. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're up and running now. Got all my specs. Got everything I need here. So this lens is getting a full mod. Front ring, focus gear, declicking, and EF conversion. Iris feels normal. Not a lot of lubrication. So let's just dive in here. Oh, forgot my tray. It's much less windy than last week, but it's also much colder. Which I feel silly, because cold for us here in Southern California is not what most people consider cold. Mod-Stream. So this baffle is actually a two-piece plastic insert, and it can and will separate. You know what? Actually, I don't know if that needs to come out. Yeah, this one's an oddball one because the baffle goes, you know, it starts back here and it goes down to about there inside the lens. Let's see if it comes with the mount. Welcome, Travis. Yeah, see, the whole thing's attached. It's all one piece. So that has to come out. Hello, Adelson. Welcome back. That's the giant baffle. All one piece of glass. Well, two pieces. This top portion here separates. The actual baffle portion of it separates. But it usually has some glue. And that's all that's holding it together. I don't want to break the insert part, but you can see the glue there. Right there. But there's no need for those to come apart. Now it's stuck. Oh, geez. There we go. That's better. Got a question that might be hard to answer. Do you think popular vintage glass today will eventually phase out, where modern glass / look of today becomes the vintage of tomorrow? That is a good question. I think that vintage lenses, as they are currently, implying like 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't know that they'll go out of fashion, but at the rate that people are destroying them, they'll run out very soon. They get absolutely abused on set, and sooner or later they're just going to dry up. There's not going to be any more. It's like vintage cars. The value will just continue to go up and up and up, and you know, if there's eventually all the K35s will be damaged or destroyed or whatever, and the value will just continue to go up. That's not a good sign. We're missing a screw right there. I mean, it doesn't really matter because this component is only useful on a Leica R camera, but actually I should just remove it because I don't want it falling out in someone's camera body. Daniel, what do you guys do with leftover parts? Mostly we save them. Unless a customer specifically asks for them back, we keep them all here so that when someone does need them, we can say, yeah, sure, here you go. At the end of every mod stream, you'll see me organizing all those spare parts. So this gets dumped into our main supply eventually. But there's all the ball bearings, there's the springs, those are the screws for the little, what is it called? On contacts primes. The block. There's a bunch of Nikon parts, Zeiss screws, just random stuff. And eventually they'll all get sorted into the main supply, which is an entire wall we have in our main service area. There's probably a couple hundred storage containers that we use for all those types of parts. All sorts of vintage stuff. Classic Zeiss Cine lenses, old Cook parts, old Ingenue parts, anything you could imagine. This is in pretty good shape. It's not too worn out. It's got a little bit of aluminum rub off, but not bad. Yeah, it's kind of nasty. To finish up your question, Travis, I don't know. I don't think that modern lenses will become high demand or classic. I don't think it'll have the same nostalgia that current vintage lenses have. So, for example, if you have something like a Master Prime or a Sigma Cine Prime, I don't think in 20 years someone's going to go back and say, oh, well, I want that look from the early 2020s, so I need that type of lens. I think the look is too clean. It's too generic to be in demand. I think in another 30 years, people will be replicating lighting styles that are currently popular, or certain color schemes that were popular throughout the 2020s or the 21st century. But I don't think that's going to be defined by our current crop of lenses. Terrence, was the workmanship of the Leica R lenses better than the other brands like Nikon AIS? That's hard to say. The Leica was pretty consistent across the R series as far as build quality goes, until they get into the later ones that had some more plastic components. When they took on a lot of the Japanese manufacturing techniques. Lots of cam followers instead of helical threads. Nikon was a lot more varied, in my opinion, throughout the AIS line. So they had a lot of lenses that were really good and some that were okay. So it's not a clear apples to apples comparison. But if I had to completely generalize, I'd say yes, the Leica R series was slightly more robust in mechanical design than the Nikon series, the Nikon AIS series. I don't know that we're talking about a quantifiable difference, though. Yeah, Travis, so many analogies can be drawn between classic cars and classic lenses. Ooh, this looks terrible. Wow. Okay, this will be interesting to show you guys here. Hold on. I'll have to refocus here a little bit. So, I don't know how close I can get without... There's little divots right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. It's almost like someone jammed a screwdriver in there to make some kind of adjustment or some sort of maybe they were trying to declick it and adjust the tension, but that looks very inconsistent. That is not the correct way to do that. So this has been modified, or maybe someone tried servicing it. I don't know. There's no way to know. That might become a problem once we actually declick it. So that's one of the challenges with doing any kind of mods, not just Leica R's, but you know, that's the kind of thing that we can't see before we open the lens. Oh, thank you, Johnny. I always forget to refocus after I show something. It really should just make this... I mean, the lens is autofocus. The problem is it hunts constantly, and it's a noisy motor, so if I leave it on autofocus, it just constantly jitters back and forth. I don't even know if I can change the focus. I don't know if I want to mess with it right now. So anyway, as I was saying, that's one of the risks. You know, we can quote these mods. We do it all day, every day. But we just never know until we open it up if something's been done differently or incorrectly or outright wrong. And then inevitably we have to go back to the customer and say, hey, we found this. There's no way we could have seen it before. And that's becoming more and more common with people kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as vintage lenses go. Oh no, the fish camera's frozen. Why is our fish cam frozen? Huh. There we go. The fish are not dead. Okay, that was close. Michelle said it got so cold the fish... Yes, it's very cold in here. I'm like borderline shivering. Okay. So all of our IRS components are clean. I did notice a bit of an echo again. I might need to put some more soundproofing on these walls. Come to Maryland, it's 40 degrees. It was 40 degrees this morning on my drive in, but I mean, cold for us here in Chatsworth is like anything below 60. So I really shouldn't be complaining. What's the actual temperature? It's a super low 52 degrees currently. So, not complaining, I'm just not used to it. Jeffrey, welcome. Typically when you buy a classic film camera, you send it for CLA. When you buy a vintage lens, should you send it for CLA? I mean, yes and no. For the film camera, there's so many other little tiny things that can be slightly off. Like you have to make sure the shutter speed is correct and your meter is working properly. With a lens, if you put it on the camera and it's producing the images you like, you don't have to. Yeah, if the focus feels good and the iris feels good and the pictures are good, don't send it in. If you're building a set of lenses for, you know, actual production and they're a rental kit, then yeah, you want them to be maintained properly. The last thing you want is a lens to seize up on set and your customer is going to be upset with you. So yes, in that case, you want your stuff to be maintained well. But if it's just for shooting around and trying vintage lenses, it's not necessary unless it needs something. Why did photo lens manufacturers scale back the number of aperture blades? Sorry, let me read this correctly here. Ease of manufacturing. You see a lot of German and FSU lenses with up to 20 blades, and it became common to see 5 to 6. I don't know that it's a matter of ease of manufacturing. I think it's probably partly, and this is purely speculation, probably partly a reliability concern. A lens that has 20 blades has 20 chances for something to go wrong. A lens that has 5 blades has 5 chances for something to go wrong. So it's a lot easier to maintain, perhaps. It's also, I think with the advances in manufacturing, it's easier to keep a circular shape with fewer blades once they kind of got clever with how the blades are shaped. As opposed to just having straight blades where you need 20 plus to make a circular shape. That's purely speculation. I couldn't tell you why that changed or if it has anything to do with specifics, regional differences. I don't know. But I do always say that the number of blades is not as important as the shape of the blades. I put too much grease on here. That was a mistake. I'm going to share some of it here. It's probably one of the most common things I see from other people's service or other people modding lenses is they over grease components. Well, they might be setting up for lunch today. Not yet. Maybe. We have a company lunch today. I forgot what we're having though. I wonder, Brianna, are you watching the stream? Brianna? Chime in if you're watching. Have you had a chance to look at the new Viltrox 133 lenses yet? I purchased them, a huge fan of the look. I have not, actually. I have not seen. I've only saw it early pre-production, but it was not what I would consider telling of the lenses. I would very much like to see those though, because I've seen a lot of Hey, Brianna is here. What's for lunch? Don't tell me where, just tell me what kind of food it is. Tacos and tamales. All right. That sounds delicious. Is it a common issue to have some aperture droop even when wide open on some Leica R lenses? You mean the creep? Is that what you mean? Have a 35mm Summicron that wide open, the blades are still visibly slightly stopped. Oh. Yes, that's not uncommon. That can be... no, that cannot be adjusted. That's not... I'm thinking of the contacts primes. The contacts primes are a very easy adjustment. Yeah, it's not... I should say it's not uncommon to still see a tiny bit of the blades, but if it's excessive, then it should be looked at. Oops. Too much. The easiest way to test that is on a T-stop bench. But that's not going to give you the f-stop, that's going to tell you the T-stop. So you would need to... I guess the only proper way to test that would be to find another 35 cron and compare it. But I suppose if you had another 35 cron, you could just look at the shape of the aperture and compare that and see if that lens goes full open. That's not uncommon to see in zoom lenses that have a constant aperture. So what the common practice is to take the lowest common denominator. So for example, if a lens is a constant f2.8, the wide end was actually capable of doing f, 2.1 or something like that. But they just limit it so that it's a constant 2.8 throughout. It's not actually going to be that much of a difference. It'll be a very small difference. But at the wide end, it'll be slightly closed down so that when you zoom through, it remains constant throughout the range. Oh, that feels terrible. I'm not happy with that at all. Oh, jeez. Now I'm wondering if this is not the factory ring, and that's why someone put those giant marks in it. Yeah, that might be a problem here. That feels terrible. So maybe the mount will add a little bit of resistance, but it's not going to be much. It does help a little bit, but yeah, that's going to be a challenge. That might need a completely different grease. How do you feel about the potential of the Takumars for videography? Ever given any thought? Yeah, of course. They're fantastic glass. They're not anywhere near as common as Leica R's or Zeiss contacts or even FDs. Is there something that can be adjusted so the blade is completely clear? Don't have another copy to compare, just a pet peeve. Yeah, it should be something that can be adjusted. This might have to come apart further to correct this aperture movement. It's not good. I'm either going to take it apart further and make some adjustments in this brass linkage, or I'm just going to clean all of that grease that I just put on off of it and try a heavier grease. That's tempting. I'd rather not disassemble this because we didn't quote for that. And disassembling this aperture linkage on the 60 macro in particular is a pain because of the linkage that goes all the way down for the macro. Thank you, but coming to you sooner or later. Oh, excellent. My pleasure, Ethan. Yeah, this is gonna bother me. It just doesn't feel good. I wouldn't be happy. Put it this way, if I paid to have a lens modded and it came back feeling like this, I would not be happy. So, I think I need to dive deeper into it. The only other possibility is this surface here could use a little bit more, but that's really risky because if I over grease this, it could easily seep out of the lens onto the body. There we go. Did you ever try to crack open the rear element group of the Mamiya Sycor C80mm? The group in the metal ring? You mean the one on my personal 80mm or just in general? No, Brianna, thank you though. I'm okay. I have a wide selection of greases here on my bench. Unless we want to go extreme, but I shouldn't do that. Oh, it's not difficult to get to that. If you're referring to the group in the 80mm Mamiya that hazes frequently, it's not difficult to get to it. It's difficult to open that group because the metal is spun over the element. I would not recommend anyone that hasn't had that experience attempt that. That's an advanced procedure. Oh, that feels much better. Oh, that's way better. Nice and fluid. Peeling back that layer of brass is... it's very delicate, and even the slightest mistake means you're going to scratch the glass. I just realized how much white noise there is in here when I muted it for a second. No. You don't need to destroy the ring at all. You just have to very, very carefully... See, I can't genuinely tell people how to do this because it could destroy it and then someone would blame me. But essentially you have to pry that spun-in portion away from the element enough so that you could pull the element out. Are macro lenses difficult to service or mod? Depends on the macro. A lens like this, no, it's not particularly difficult. Something like an airy macro, that's very, very complicated because it's a rehoused still lens. Yes, those are very challenging. Okay. Gotta warm up. I'm trying to figure out what the white noise is. Either the filter that's right here behind the orange thing, or there's a mini fridge right there. I can't. That hums periodically. Okay, that feels pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now we should force this guy back in place. Looks good. What's your favorite Leica R lens? That's impossible to answer. I hate to sound so basic, but probably the 50 Summilux. But I think that would also depend on what camera I was using. I wouldn't say frequently, not infrequently, I pair a Leica R35 Summilux on a Fuji APS-C body. But if I was doing full frame, like an A7 or something for actual motion picture stuff, probably the 50. I'm tempted to just leave the whole ROM thing out, but it doesn't serve a purpose at all anymore. It's just stuff in there at this point. Noticed a lot of the mod streams are Zeiss contacts or Leica R. Is that by design for the stream, or just happens to be what you guys request to do most of them? Leica R and Zeiss contacts are definitely among the most common lenses that we get in for mods. So that's obviously a huge part of it. There's some other oddball stuff. It just doesn't lend itself well to the mod stream because it requires a lot of up and down and, you know, going to the machine area to do modifications I can't show on stream. Leica R's and Zeiss contacts are easy because I can sit here at the bench and basically stay with you guys. For the stuff that requires us to go, you know, to the machine shop, which is, it's really only on the other side of this wall. But that means I have to, you know, walk away from the camera, which is boring for you guys. You'd just be staring at an empty bench. Practical difference. Oh, you guys must have a lot of cool manufacturing tooling. Yes and no. I wouldn't say it's anything fancy. Personally, I think our test equipment is more unique and cool than the machining stuff. Will a diopter lower the effective t-stop of a lens? Technically, yes. Is it going to be noticeable? Probably not. Practical differences between the image you get from Contax, Zeiss, and Leica R. From what my eyes can see, the Leica R seem to be more saturated, but would love to hear an expert's take. It's very subjective. Very, very subjective. That's very hard to say. I think the Leica R's lean more towards spherical aberration, which can help mask a lot of the chromatic aberration, whereas the Zeiss contacts will exhibit a little more chromatic aberration, but may tend to look a little bit crisper because of that. So depending on the lighting conditions, the contacts could look cleaner than the Leica R, but that's kind of the purpose of the Leica R's. They have a less perfect, a more vintage style. Have you thought about do a Duclos rehousing? We've done many rehousings over the years. For Leica R's specifically, no way. Not interested. The reason I say I'm not interested is there's other companies that do that already, such as TLS in the UK, or Zero Optic here in California, and we're very, very good friends with both of them. I have no interest in stepping on their toes, so to speak. I've known Keith and Colin, the founders of TLS, since I was a child, Keith's daughter used to babysit me. And Alex, being a former colleague, a former staff member here at Duclos, I'm still on very good terms with him. I have no intention of competing with them. And honestly, I could not do... There's nothing that we could do better than what TLS or Zero Optic are doing, so why bother? Have you ever modded Mamiya Secor SX lenses? No. I didn't even know... M42. I read that as micro four thirds. I don't know why I read it like that. I was going to say I didn't know that Mamiya made... no, I have not done anything with their M42 mount lenses. I should look into those, though. I don't think I've ever even considered those. Mamiya M42. Secor SX. Do they have shutters built in, or no? If the front thread is bent on a contax lens macro, would that be a costly or challenging thing to fix? Currently, a filter cannot be attached due to its thread being bent. There's two options you have there. If the threads are bent just a little bit, then we can usually hammer them out depending on the thickness of that ring. If it's excessive, then we may not be able to hammer it out. If we can get the threads repaired just enough to put a new front ring on, like one of our 80mm front rings, that's usually a good sort of last resort. We can just sort of jam a new front ring onto it, so you have a usable filter thread. Best case scenario, or I should say the most professional solution will be to find a donor lens and swap out the front ring, because we can't get factory spare parts for those anymore. Mamiya SX are a pain in the ass with their take on the M42. Really small in build and come with mostly a quite long focus. Oh, okay. Only downside problem is the way the aperture mechanism is built and sometimes is unable to operate. Yeah, so that's always the problem with that type of lens. How was the experience of developing a new coating detune for the Canon CN? Are you referring to the V35? That whole process, that whole tuning process was a lot of fun. it wasn't just coatings, it was a myriad of modifications that I'm very happy with the results. Catching up on my messages here. This one might not be cooling down enough here. All right, I'll check back on that in a minute. Alright, that guy's good to go. And then we have a 180 is up next. Ooh, that's a chunky one. And I remembered to change the banner. Yeah, it's just slightly bent, and the price I'm thinking about it. Yeah, if it's just slightly bent and you're gonna mod it anyway, then absolutely. We can always correct it enough to get the front ring on, and then you have a brand new thread anyway, so go for it. So this one, conversely to the 60, this is in fantastic condition. Look at the engravings are all bright and vibrant. This is what we call a dentist lens. A dentist probably bought this 20 years ago and it sat on a shelf unused. This is practically brand new. It's not unused. You know, I can see on the contacts where the pins ran across. It was obviously mounted at least once, but it's in fantastic condition. Wow. The focus is a little stiff, but that's kind of what I expect for this lens because it's moving a ton of glass. I'm not modding any more lenses, I'm just sending to you guys. Why not? Oh, let me get my specs here. Make sure I got my data correct. 180, 2.8, right? Yeah, 2.8. This is, where's the number? 373. So there's 3 versions of this lens. This could be, oh no, sorry, is this the Apo? No. So, of the non-Apo model, there's 3 versions, yeah. So this is probably I don't know which version this is. It looks much new. It's ROM, so it's got to be. So it doesn't match up with the serial number range that I have. Where's Phil? Phil, are you here yet? Is it normal for a heavy lens to have a heavy focus because of the amount of glass? Yes and no. If it's a helical type, it's very, very likely to have a very heavy feeling focus. A clever lens design will accommodate that and compensate for it. But this is just a plain helical, so it's moving a lot of glass. Yeah, I don't have any other way to know which version this is, which is kind of a bummer. I don't have any specs, so I'm gonna assume this is the later version because it's a ROM, and the other 2 say CAM. Let's do that. I'm going with that. Get the serial number. Okay. Iris blades. I have no data on this lens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Floating element? I don't think so. Nope. Minimum focus. 1.8 meters. Okay. And the weight. I'm gonna say this is about maybe 1,000 grams, give or take. I was off. 809. All right. Sorry to bore you guys with this, but I gotta get this data. Okay. I almost don't want to mod this because it's in such good condition. But it's not my lens. Another deep baffle. So the grease doesn't look bad. There's a little bit of grime in there. I can't quite tell if it's original or not, but considering how clean this lens is, it probably is. Yeah, it's nice. That does look original. All right. Modern Leica M lenses versus Leica R. Image quality unique enough to mod them and use for cinema. Currently building a set of Summilux M lenses for both still and video work. I mean, Leica would say yes because they have the M0.8 lenses. which is just the same. It's the M lenses with a slightly different body. It's basically a factory Cine-Mod. Personally, I don't think that the Leica M lenses are as well suited to motion picture work as the Leica R lenses because of the flange depth. So because the Leica M lenses are meant for a rangefinder system, the flange depth is very shallow, which means the glass is very close to the film plane. And because of that, you can only use them on certain cameras. You could use them on a Red Komodo, you can use them on most E-mount cameras, like a FX9, FX7, or whatever what is it, FX6, sorry. I'm thinking of the FS7. But the Leica R lenses, you can use them on practically any camera, which makes them a lot more versatile. Got about 20 minutes left on the stream. I need to start packing it up. That should be enough time to get this 180 done, but I don't know if that's going to be enough time to go back into the 60 and correct anything. Wow. Slippery ring. I find it hard to justify the price of the Leica M0.8, which is why I decided to start building my own. I'm also in a unique situation where I do both photo and video. Then that makes sense. I think a lot of people struggle to justify the price of the M0.8. But, I mean, if you take the price of the regular Leica M's and then add on the cost to modify them, and then, you know, compare that to the actual usability, it kind of starts to make sense. Is it possible to create removable focus gears for Leica M? What do you mean by removable? Something fell in front of my mat? What? Up here? Or in front here? I don't know what you mean. It was probably the Kim wipe I was holding. Removable, like, can be taken off and thrown away, or like taken off and put on. The black spot. This? That's part of the wood. I'm not sure what spot you're referring to. Alright. As in being able to attach a focus gear and remove when no longer using for it. Not really. Most of the Leica M lenses have the finger notch on the focus ring, which makes any of the traditional removable bits very difficult, if not impossible. So you can't use like a zip gear. When we mod Leica M lenses, we make a sub-split ring that accommodates that finger notch, and then the gear goes over that. So even that's not ideal, but it works. I couldn't imagine a good solution that is removable. Did you see the Do lens? Yeah. I'm not a fan of the name. It sounds very similar to Duclos lenses. It's like if you take off the second syllable of Duclos lenses, you get Do lens. But yes, I have seen them. They are impressive for what they are. For the size, weight, the price. Very impressive.
I remember seeing them there too.
Now they're setting up for lunch. I can hear the tables getting shuffled. The fact that this ring or this lens was practically new, I suspect that this is going to feel perfect once I finish lubricating it. Something was definitely wrong with that 60mm. It was not factory spec. the whole do-lens thing with Schneider is confusing to me. As far as I understand it, Schneider struck a deal with do-lens, so the only... We can't buy just the do-lens from do-lens because of the deal that Schneider has. So we can only purchase the do-lens lenses as part of the anamorphic kit that Schneider makes because of whatever deal they struck. So Duclos Lenses doesn't sell just the do-lens. We sell the do-lens anamorphic kit. The ISCO, that's what it's called, the ISCO for all, which is Schneider. Okay, moment of truth here. Oh yeah. It's like butter coated in bacon grease. It's beautiful. You can't hear anything. That's kind of a telltale sign. It's like the faintest rubbing. Whoop. Been using the do-lens set for past couple months. Great lenses, although very inconsistent in contrast across the set. But for the price they were, yeah, that's kind of the consensus. Is for the price you can't complain. I've heard that contact lenses are more likely to have issues with the haze/balsam separation. Well, first of all, contact lenses did not use balsam. They were more sophisticated. They were more advanced. I read speculation over possible manufacturing change back then. That's kind of... I don't think I could apply such a sweeping, broad statement to an entire line of lenses. Oh, to prevent haze in my lenses. Don't expose them to moisture and don't expose them to dramatic temperature fluctuations. And sometimes you just can't help it. Sometimes haze is a result of lubrication that has outgassed, which I guess technically is also could be a temperature thing as well. So still just don't expose them to temperature fluctuations. But yeah, sometimes there's just no helping it. Like that Mamiya 80mm. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Oh, I forgot to put the baffle in. Well, it shouldn't be too hard, even with the mount on. Oh, nope. Is it gonna fit? Yes, okay. On the topic of preventing haze, electronic dry box is worth it or overkill for these vintage lenses? I would say that depends on your climate. If you live in a tropical climate and moisture is prevalent, then I'd say it's probably worth it. If you live in Southern California and it's dry and easy to put something in a cool cabinet or a cool dark cabinet, then no, it's not necessary. If you're in the rainforest, yeah, one of those cabinets is definitely going to help. A nice seamless fit. I love that that taper that matches. Do you service Hawk lens? Yes, we do. All right. I'm gonna clean up here. You guys can stick around, ask any last questions. Jumping screws. fall in there? No. Hi from Paris. What do you think of Light Lens Lab and their Cook Pancore replica? I think that's... I don't know. I'm torn. I like the idea, but I can't imagine that Cook is going to just let them use the name and the IP. Even if the patents are expired, which I totally get, there's no way that Cook would just let them advertise it as a Cook design. So, I mean, on one hand, I'm on the side of, you know, the creator of the revised lens, but on the other hand, as someone that makes products and designs products, if someone just completely used the Duclos name or said, you know, hey, this is a new version of an old Duclos product, that's shitty. That's terrible. You know, we all saw it with a variety of different companies in our industry, and people get away with it all the time. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the whole Tilta situation with copying products, but it sucks. It puts people out of jobs. So I don't know. We'll see what comes of that, but I would not want to mess with Cook. That's not the kind of company, that's not the kind of legacy that I would want to tamper with. So we'll see what comes of that project. I mean, that's one of Cook's greatest assets, is their name and their legacy. I don't think that they would just let someone capitalize on that. All right, that'll do it for today. Thank you guys for joining, and see you next Friday.